The law of diminishing returns is something that is transcendental. Once an improvement to an experience has been made, it becomes more difficult to recapture the feeling of amazement one has when they experience that one thing they love but made even better. This, of course, is mostly true. Reactions to experiences are always subjective, and where one person might say something no longer enthralls them like it used to, another person is continually blown away by all the improvements made, no matter how small they might be. Attention to detail. That's what separates these two types of people. And these two types of people will always exist, and their respective experiences of the law of diminishing returns will differ as widely as noticing it immediately and not at all. So what's the point in talking about all this then? Well, while experiences are subjective, laws are objective. And just because one might not experience something doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't there. So when something is sequelized, like, say, Ayaka Nation, then it could be expected that the more that it is attempted to be reproduced, the more difficult it will be to retain the charm and sheer amazingness of the one that came previously. Essentially, Ayaka Nation is a live series doomed to succumb to the law of diminishing returns. The more they do it, the less amazing it will be until it finally becomes just another sound in the ether, with all the other middling solo idol concert DVDs and Blu-rays on the shelves. Or at least that would be true. You see, if Ayaka Nation were to simply exist as just another solo idol DVD or Blu-ray, then this would all be an inevitability here. But this is Ayaka Nation. There are many Ayakas out there, but it takes a special kind of one to form their own nation. Essentially, there is one factor that makes a series transcend even the law of diminishing returns. That factor is just 6 letters long, or 5 if you are about that life. Here are the top 5 reasons why you should watch Ayaka Nation 2017. Yay!
Number 5.
The music is live and you can actually see them. One of the big flaws with modern Momoclo live concert DVDs is that they utilize a live band but seldom ever show them. The little interludes between songs that they do in this concert are awesome at actually showing the musicians doing their thing, which is a nice relief from the normal Momoclo live DVD fare. Music people, such as myself, have just as much fun watching musicians doing their thing as we might watching the singer and their backup dancers doing their thing. It's clear that the producer understands this and decided that that was a good way to treat transitions between songs. It's excellent and just proves that Arin is an infallible genius.
Number 4.
3B Junior is actually utilized pretty well for once.
We now live in a post 3B Junior world, and I can't say I'm sad about that. 3B Junior have always been that one part of Stardust that always seemed to be thrown into a concert performance at the 11th hour for no discernible reason other than payment in exposure bucks. Oh, they'll all debut in their own idol units eventually, they all said, knowing full well that entrance into 3B Junior was like being sentenced to a purgatory where your career goes absolutely nowhere for years. Years. Seriously. Stuck in the same place in a group whose name sounds nothing short of a concept for idols not even in their tweens. I don't blame the ones who graduated for graduating. But with all that said, I can't say that they annoyed me as much as their numerous other appearances. In fact, since there is a light conceptual element to this concert, they served moving the plot for this concert along fairly well. And although it pains me to say it, This is one of the reasons to see this DVD, as it's probably the one single time ever where 3B Jr. actually positively contributed to a concert that was not their own, despite them chewing the scenery for no reason. Yeah, they still display the things that are love or hate, but nonetheless, they're okay here.
Number 3.
Arin plays guitar more. Yeah! In the last Ayaka Nation, we got her rocking that electric guitar and even playing the solo to Journey's Separate Ways. The only time I would ever be willing to listen to that song, or any song by Journey, is if it's performed by Arin. And here we have her playing electric guitar again, as well as acoustic guitar. She looks much more confident this time around than she did in the past, and it's nice to see that. Arin obviously understands the merit of putting on a good show, and that, as I pointed out earlier, watching people play instruments on stage can in fact be enjoyable to watch, sans the dancing around and
Insane 3B Junior faces.
also, her choice of guitar is impeccable. It's like,
Okay, so we're doing a concert that has its concept dated to the height of the 1950s rock and roll culture. Which guitar from that era would you like? A Fender? Les Paul? No? How about Rickenbacker?
she's seriously playing a Rickenbacker. This is like asking someone what kind of muscle car someone would want, and they say something like,
Chevrolet Chevelle or Plymouth Barracuda.
it's like that third choice that people always forget about, and around which small cult-like communities spring up. There's nothing wrong with it. It just shows that she has exceptional taste. But then, of course she would. She's Ari.
Number 2.
The theme is the 1950s. Ah, yes, the 1950s. There has never since been such a time like that, but ever since seeing Arin in her massive frohawk in Midai Bowl and her apparent insatiable appetite for food sold at the Hard Rock Cafe, this concept exists just for her. The 1950s. Americana culture. Harkening back to a time where cars were big and unreliable, but nobody cared because other countries were too busy spending their loan money on war reparations to even try to sell their cars in America. A time where the only fast food chain that mattered was White Castle, and where the youth of the time indulged in the rebellious music of rock and roll on their transistor radios as they went up to the snack bar to get their popcorn before the movie at the drive-in theater started. I have a soft spot for the 50s, since I come from an area where drive-in theaters are actually still a thing, and 50s style mom-and-pop diners still exist. And for someone from Japan to express interest in this, so much as to make it the concept for not only her first solo single, but also her second solo concert, you can count me in there.
And the number 1 thing on today's list.
We live in an age where doing anything that is against an accepted norm and is positive, or at the very least not harmful, is considered progressive. For instance, when a girl cross-dresses as a boy, or vice versa. And here, we get to see Arin as she might appear as a guy, finally putting to bed the idea that even the straightest of guys are immune to developing
A man crush.